What's going on, everybody? David here, back with another video. So as I promised, we are going to talk about upgrading your life, the road to financial freedom. That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to tell you pretty much my story of how I went from being in debt to becoming debt free. I'm going to tell you how much money I was in debt and how I was able to get past that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please hit the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. Okay, so I told you guys I'm going to continue to talk about this because I think it's very important. So it's not just going to be stimulus check stuff. We're going to talk about how to get out of debt and how to find side hustles to earn extra money. That way you can get that reoccurring $2,000 check that you want. You can get that reoccurring check by doing a side hustle. So that's what we're going to focus on. So let me start from the beginning. How did I get into debt? So for me, it was college. I started college, and the first thing that I did when I got to college is just like, okay, I need to pay for college. So I need a student loan or I need something, because I was working part-time, or at least I got a part-time job soon after I got to college, and I was out of state going to college. And so my parents helped me when I first started, but then I needed to start getting student loans in order to pay for a lot of my bills and everything. And so that was the first thing, student loans. So now I'm starting to accrue debt just by going to college. And then they also, when you go to college, another thing that's big is you go to all the events, you go to the basketball game, football game, all that. You're going to have a lot of vendors there. You're going to have a lot of people trying to get you to sign up for different things. Credit cards is a big thing in college. You have all these credit card companies that will go to these basketball games, and they will have these shirts, and they will give you free t-shirts of the university that you're going to. And all you need to do is sign up for a credit card. And so that's what I did. Did it like 2 or 3 times, got 3 t-shirts. And so now I have these credit cards. And at first, I was never comfortable using credit cards. And so I didn't use the credit cards right when I got them. But over time, I started thinking, okay, well, I need to get this book for college. It's a $200 book. I don't have $200. Let me put it on the credit card, and then I'll pay it over time. And so I started doing that. And you can imagine how fast you can go into debt, credit card debt, by doing that. And the crazy thing about college and buying books is you can buy a book. It's a $200 book, and you're only going to be in that class for 4 or 5 months. And then once you're out of the class, you don't need the book anymore. And so now you have to sell the book back. You sell the book back to the bookstore. They're only going to buy it for maybe $65, $75. And so all that money is gone. And you've only used, there are certain situations where I only use a book maybe 2 or 3 times the whole semester. And so I'm in a situation where I'm using my credit card to buy certain things, and then for housing and things like that, you're using credit card. And so I quickly went into debt. And so when I got out of college, I had credit card debt and I had student loan debt. And the student loan debt, I put it on forbearance for I think a couple of years right when I got out of college. I wasn't working. Like the first 8 months out of college, I wasn't working. And so I was able to go under forbearance. And then after that, then I continued the forbearance for like a year after that. And then I start paying on it. And so now I'm in debt, over like $35,000 in debt. And I start a job and I'm starting to work. And of course, you have a job. So now you have to buy clothes. You have to buy a car. You need a place to stay. So I'm paying for rent. So at this point, I wasn't in a good position to really pay off my credit cards and to pay off my student loan. I didn't have the money right away. And so I'm paying over time. And with credit cards, I didn't have that credit card knowledge. So I didn't know, okay, well, I knew that I was paying extra. I was paying that interest, but I wasn't really thinking about it. So I'm paying the minimum payment on my credit cards. For years, I was doing that. My student loans, I was paying a little more than the minimum. For years, I was doing that. And then about 4 years ago, I started thinking, okay, I need to get out of debt. Like, what is going on? I've been paying for years, and these numbers are still about the same. I'm still over 30,000 in debt. And so at that point, I needed a plan. And I knew how I was. Like I still wanted to go out, have fun, go to travel and do things like that. I didn't want to be that person that just was penny pinching every dime and saving that money and paying off my credit cards and paying off my student loans. And so I knew I needed a side hustle. I needed to do something else. I was not going to be able to just do my full-time job and pay off all my credit cards and pay off my student loan without, with just that income. I needed something else. So I started doing Amazon FBA. Now, if you don't know what Amazon FBA is, go on YouTube, type in Amazon FBA. You'll find plenty of videos on it. But to sum it up, basically, you are a third-party seller on Amazon. So if someone goes to Amazon, they want to purchase a product. If you have that product for sale, you have a storefront. If you have that product for sale, they can purchase it on Amazon. And what I do is I buy the products from China. I have them shipped to me. I package them. I send them to Amazon. Amazon warehouses them. So when you purchase the product, Amazon ships the product out to you. They take a small percentage, and then I get my percentage. And so that's how Amazon FBA works. Good program, really good program. Very competitive, though. So that's something you need to be. I mean, there's so many sellers on Amazon right now. It's hard to kind of jump in and sell a product because there are a lot of people selling the same product, and some people will undercut you, and it's just, it gets pretty crazy. Now on Amazon FBA, I sell my own products. I'm a photographer, so I sell my prints. No one can sell those but me. So there's no competition when it comes down to that. So I was doing Amazon FBA. I'm making a little bit of money on Amazon FBA. I was taking that money. I was paying off my credit cards. I was paying off my student loans. And then YouTube. 4 years ago, I got really serious about YouTube. And I started making a little money on the side on YouTube. I was taking that money that I was making on YouTube. I was paying off my credit cards. I was paying off my student loans. And then I did something else that was really interesting. 4 years ago, I paid off my car, and I had a Google Calendar that would give me a notification the 10th of every month saying that I had a car payment due. And I kept that 4 years, even though I didn't owe anything on my car, I kept that notification coming on the 10th of every month. And one reason I did that is because it reminded me that, hey, you know what? You paid your car off. Because I'd look at that notification and I'd be like, oh, you know what? I already paid my car off. I don't owe anything this month. But another thing that I started doing is that $320 that I was using to pay my car off, I started using that to pay something else off. And so every month I knew when I got that notification, take that $320, put it towards your credit cards or put it towards your student loans. And so I trained myself to do that every month. And I started paying off my debt even faster. And then fast forward to last year in June. At the time, YouTube, I started really gaining some traction on YouTube. I started making more money on YouTube. I was able to pay off my debt much faster. And the main debt that I was focused on at that time was my student loans. And then finally, in June, I was able to pay my student loans off. And it was the best feeling in the world. I was debt free at that point. I paid off all my credit cards and my student loans. And now I was in a situation where it's like, okay, now I have this extra money. You don't realize how much money you're paying every month on credit card debt and student loans and whatever debt that you have. You don't really realize it until you've paid it off. And now you're looking at extra money. You're thinking, wow, okay, what am I going to do with this money? And then that's when I start focusing on, okay, assets, liabilities. Put your money in assets. An asset is something that's going to pay you. A liability is something that you have to pay. So if I buy a car, that's a liability. If I buy a house just for me, that's a liability. If I buy rental property, that's an asset. So that's what you have to start thinking about. Like right now, I could go buy a car. I'm past due. I mean, I've had this car for over 10 years. But you know what? I don't want that liability. I would rather put that money into assets. And so that's what I start doing. The extra money, I start putting it into the stock market. And I didn't really get serious. I wanted to kind of play around when I first started. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I didn't get really serious until October of last year. In October, I started buying some shares into some big companies, Tesla, Apple, companies like that. And I did really well. And in 4 months' time, I made $6,000 just investing money in the stock market. So all I did, purchased the stock. 4 months later, I have an extra $6,000 in my bank account. And those are the things that I want to focus on and talk to you guys about. Because if you can become debt free, now you have extra money that you can use to get in the stock market. We saw the stock market did last year. In a pandemic, people were struggling and Wall Street was doing okay. All year they were doing okay. And I told you, from October until now, I've made $6,000 in the stock market. And so when it comes down to it, that's my story. That's how I was able to become debt free. I want to show you guys different ways, different things you can think about in order to get to that point where you're debt free. And you might be on fixed income. You might be retired. You might be in a situation where you're receiving Social Security and you're not making any extra money. But you can start a side hustle. You can start making money doing some other things and then use that money to invest. And then when you invest, then you're going to make money on the other end. And I'm not a financial planner or anything like that. I don't pretend to be, but I do my research and I started to buy stocks and it's working. And my side hustle is doing well. YouTube is doing well. I'm still doing a little bit when it comes to Amazon FBA. But when you figure those things out and you become financially free, then you don't have to, a lot of stuff is lifted off your shoulders. Now I'm not worried about a lot of the things that I was worried about 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. Last year, the beginning of that last year, I was thinking about that. But now a lot of that has been lifted because I made some pretty good choices. So that's all I have for you guys today. We're gonna go in depth on some of the different ways that you can make money in the future. So be prepared for that. Subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified. I'm still going to do the stimulus check stuff. We're going to follow that all the way through. Okay. So we have a third stimulus check coming. We're going to follow that through, but I also want to focus on other ways to make money because that's what's important, because this stimulus check is going to come and it's going to go, and you're going to still need to work towards financial freedom. You need to work towards a reoccurring $2,000 stimulus. Don't let the government, don't wait on the government, I should say, to come around to that, because they're probably never going to come around to it. So you need to create it on your own. So that's all I have for you guys. Comment down below. I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.